Hi guys, welcome back to my Flosstube channel. If you're new here, my name is Phoebe, and today we're going to be talking about cross stitch. So this whole channel is devoted to my enjoyment, my love of cross stitch. Sometimes I talk about crochet, but today we're just talking about cross stitch. So basically I'm going to be going through all of the projects that I stitched on in the last 2 weeks. I have a new episode about every 2 weeks with an update on what I've been stitching on. I have a number of fully finished projects today, a new finish that you haven't seen yet, but I also fully finished it, and then a bunch of beautiful whips that I'm excited to share with you. Teeny bit of haul. We're going to talk about a few floss tubers I've been loving lately, and plans, and a little bit of book talk at the end. So that's kind of our agenda today. I hope you've been having a great past couple weeks. Since the last time I saw you, I went to Disneyland on a girls' trip, no kids allowed. We had such a great time, one of my friend's birthdays, and I actually did get a good amount of stitching done down there because I had some hours to myself before everyone arrived, and that was just a very fun time. I'd never done a kids free Disney trip before. So yeah, it was a good time. I don't know that I necessarily need to do that again very soon. One of the best things I think about going to Disneyland is seeing your kids' excitement for what they have there for you to experience. But I did have a lot of fun, so I'm glad that I did it, and I've been looking forward to that for a long time. So I think we'll go ahead and start with my FFOs. I'm going to start with the project that is a brand new finish that kind of, I moved it over into my finishes section, and then I thought, okay, I have a lot of finished things, I need to fully finish them. So that's what kind of prompted this finish blusa. So my first finish that I'm going to share with you is my finished piece of Salute to Abigail from Blackbird Designs. I've been stitching on this every 4th of the month since I started it, and I finished it in this frame that I got at Hobby Lobby. I don't remember whose floss tube it was suggested this, but it's been very helpful. It's to not buy frames, but buy pieces there that are under the wall decor area, and then you just cover over whatever is already there. I feel like it was probably Penny's daughter Cher's, Michelle, I heard talk about it, but probably other people too. So this piece here is like it's kind of like a deeper frame, and everything was 50% off at Hobby Lobby from the wall decor. I feel like I see their wall decor go on 50% off way more frequently than their frames. So I did a lot of lacing the last week. So I laced this, I put it on a piece of mat board, then there's some batting in between the project and the mat board, and then I hot glued it into this frame. So I really enjoy it. I like it a lot with the dark frame. Most of my other pieces are framed lighter, but this one I wanted to put in the dark frame. This is a piece of fabric that I overdyed. It's a grungy, like brown, like tealy kind of combo. And the flosses here are my own stash dive, basically, because I didn't have any of the flosses that were called for. And since there were only 4, this was, I think, one of the first projects that I fully just chose all my own flosses for, and then I learned that I really, really like that. So this is a piece of 40 count, and I did 1 strand over 2, and I may be missing a stitch here or there. I know sometimes you guys find stuff that I'm missing, but it's all glued in here and it's done. So I won't be pulling this back out to fix any little mistake. I will just leave it. So I'm very happy to have this finished and to have a patriotic piece to hang in my home. Yeah, I think that's everything about this one. I think for the last couple months you've probably heard me say in these videos, this month I'll probably get a finish on Salute to Abigail. This is Blackbird Designs, I'm sure you know. And this time I actually did. So yay! Very, very much loved stitching this. If you've been thinking about it, do it. It's a great time. The rest of my finishes are going to be things that I did not finish like in the last month, but have been waiting to be fully finished for a while. So this Friendship Garden I did finish like kind of recently, and this is by Heart and Hand. And again, I found this piece in Hobby Lobby, and there's a sign under there. I don't remember what it says, but it's kind of like on whitewashed wood. So I left a little bit of that showing. I did the same thing here where I finished it over a piece of mat board. There's a little bit of that batting there to, is batting the word I'm thinking of? It's the thing that comes in the big roll to give it a little bit softer of a look. This is on Vintage Country Mocha. I think it's like 16 count Ada. And then what's nice about the wall decor is this was already like this, so I didn't have to think of anything cute to put on there. So this is actually going to be a gift for a friend for her birthday, so I won't be keeping this one, but I really love how it finished up, and she could lean it on a bookshelf or hang it, whatever she wants to do. So really enjoyed this one. This is stitched with most of the Call for Floss, but some of the conversion that they had at the Craft Center of Fine Stitchery in Salt Lake. And it's 2/1 on some Ada. This next one that I want to share with you is another gift. This is a video that I asked my brother to send to me after I had already sent him this project. So if you may remember, a really, really long time ago in a whip parade, I shared this whip of all of these gnomes that were different pop culture characters. And at the time, I was really interested in stitching all of them. I started with the Harry Potter gnome, and then I started on, it was like Hulk next or something, and then I quickly got kind of disinterested in it. So I decided to pull out the little bit of Hulk and finish this for my brother, who is, that's one of our fandoms that we share in common, and I sent it to him for his birthday, so happy 32nd birthday, Oliver. And I sent him some Harry Potter pajama pants. But so yeah, that was my second finish. Finished exactly the same as the last two ones that I just showed you. Here is my next fully finished object. So this one is kind of just mounted on this piece here that I found at Hobby Lobby. It just like barely fits there width-wise. And again, it said something under here, but already came with this on it and everything. This is Gathering Honey from Luminous Fiber Arts, and this is stitched with Schneckly 2/2 on, I think, a 32 count. So you guys have seen all the rest of these recently, but here they are finished up. So this one can stand on its own, or you know, I could hang it. But again, like, oh, actually if it says gift, I learned that they don't count that as a wall decor. So that one wasn't 50% off, but still it was just $5 to frame it. So, and it already, it's nice because a lot of these things already have like sometimes some antiquing look to them, or you know, like this thing. So I really like it. So that one's gonna stand up in my on the desk that I have in my living room with my printemps, my patchwork printemps that I have, that's in this same kind of finish. Now this one I finished that same way, just mounted it to this piece that I thought would fit this design, because this Stacy Nash Deck the Coupe, it's a little bit wider than it is tall, and at least my finished project is, but this piece that I picked out for it, I don't like that there's that much border. I wish that it wasn't quite as wide. So I feel like I need to add some trim or something on this. I don't quite love it exactly the way that is. But anyway, this is my Deck the Coupe. I stitched this on a piece of, I think it's either 32 or 36 count, 1 strand over 2. And so that's why it's a little bit bigger. If I'd done it on 40 count, I probably would have finished it as a pillow. I used all the called for flosses, and absolutely love stitching 1/2 on anything, even if it's 32 count. And this piece of fabric is something that I over dyed to give it this rosy mauve color. And so that's my finish of Deck the Coupe. My next fully finish is this Maker's Choice from Carriage House Samplings. This is one of my heritage pieces. This one is for my grandma Dorothy Lee Taysom, and here's her birthplace and birth date. And I stitched this with some Mrs. Seda silk in the color Rouge, and this is on again a piece that of 40 count that I over dyed, and this is finished in the same way as like Salute to Abigail. So there is a framed, I think it says like wash your hands underneath here. So I all of these so far have been laced, matted, put on the matting board, and then glued onto their chosen place. I think that I prefer this to just the flat mat like I have Deck the Coupe, so I might pull that off of there and change it and put it onto something like this. But yeah, I mean, this was $7 frame and worked out really good. So I'm trying to think what else you need to know about this one. This is stitched 1/2 on 40 count, and I really, really love it. So I think I'm gonna hang this in my living room right now. I still have my Away We Ride up there because that was my first like finish that was in a, that's not a pillow finish that I put upstairs. So I'm gonna finally take that down, even though I love looking at it so much. I'm gonna put this up there. My final fully finished object is Pretty Little Hawaii from Satsuma Street. And I talked with you when I finished this about how I wanted to finish it in a hoop like it is finished on the promotional material on the pattern. So, but the hoop that I found for it, because I stitched it on 14 count Aida, it's just a printed Aida that you can get at like Hobby Lobby or something. It is a lot bigger, I think, than the piece that is on the pattern, the finished piece. So the biggest frame that they had would be too big tall, but wasn't like to fit it wide, it would be too big tall. So a little bit of the sides end up getting cut off there on this one. Again, this is just laced like that. And I'm just gonna hang it like this. And then I'm working on Pretty Little London, which you'll see later in today's video. I'm gonna finish it in the same way. It is still being stitched on 14 count so that they are the same size. But yeah, so there's that. That's stitched with all the call for DMC, 2/1 on 14 count Aida. And I love it. This is an anniversary piece for my husband and I. On my nails today, by the way, as you know, I always have my right hand, which is I call my Cinderella hand. It's a nail polish terminology because it does all my work, and it wouldn't make sense to, when I'm making polish would just come off of it. But my left hand is wearing Moonshine Manny I Can Bake Cookies. And this is an anti-Valentine's polish that we created. The name is play on the Miley Cyrus song that's like, I can buy myself flowers. So anyway, it's a magnetic polish. So if you're wondering what's on my nails today, that's what that is. You can always find the link to my, my brand's website in the description bar below. All right, we're gonna move on to whips. So let me start with my 2 strands a day piece. This is Happy Hearts from Birds of a Feather. I saw that Sarah Stitchy Spot pulled this out. So I'm excited that we're stitching another project in common, Sarah. I decided to keep this as my 2 strands a day project because, so I stitch on this 2 strands every day in January, and I'm gonna do it for every day in February too, because it's hearts and it's love, and so that is very fitting for February. So I have borrowed this pattern from a friend. That is the other reason I want to keep stitching on it, because I want to finish it up quicker rather than slower. So here's how far I've gotten. All of January and 10 days into February, 2 strands a day. So it's working really well for me. I'm stitching this on a piece of 32 count, I believe, that I have over dyed with some, I picked the side of the fabric that had less of the stark modeling on it for this one, but it does have some kind of grungy iron blue and rusty red. So I'm using my own conversion with this. As I mentioned before, I really like doing that now. Just stitching from stash and not like having to pick out and go find the exact floss that the designer calls for. So here are my flosses. If you want my conversion, just send me, you can message here, or you can send me a message to any of my 3 Instagram accounts. I have one that's called Phoebe Moon 14. That is my nail polish account. Then I have one for my brand, Moonshine Manny. I have Moonshine Stitchery, which is probably the easiest one for you to remember. But if you remember that my name is Phoebe Moon, that's the account that I'm on the most frequently if you wanted to message me. And also, if you ever see me comment on your Instagram or on your YouTube video, I'm usually on that account. So anyway, here are my flosses. It's a whole mix of good stuff. Some silks in there too. So you're gonna see this in my next video, and I'm just plugging along and really, really enjoying it. One of the main conversions in this piece is the black floss is a chocolate brown in here instead. So it's a little different, but I'm loving it. I'm just gonna pull stuff, not necessarily in the order that I stitched them. This is my Pretty Little London. So I stitch on my anniversary piece with my husband every 10th of the month. And so you saw Pretty Little Hawaii, and then this is the one that Satsuma Street did for London. I purposely picked this kind of foggy gray printed modeling in the white Aida. It's a 14 count Aida, so I'm doing 2 strands over 1 with all the called for DMC, which are really different colors than the Hawaii one. Lots of blues, oranges, and yellows in this one. And I'm really, really enjoying it. So that is my Pretty Little London, and you'll see this again in like 2 episodes when it comes back out. I stitched on a couple different Teresa Kogut whips in the last couple weeks. The first one is Dwelling Place. When I saw my friend Jan, I think she finished the whole border and posted on her Instagram. She's Hoop It Up with Jan on Instagram and YouTube, and we're stitching this together, and it reminded me that I really wanted to get this out again. So I pulled it back out. I'm stitching this on a piece of, I think this is 36 count. I'm doing 1 over 2. And again, I'm doing my own conversion here. I find that I really respond better to Teresa Kogut's designs when I liven them up in color just a little bit. So that's what I did. I believe the last time you saw this, I'm putting pictures up here when I have them, but I've brought this border over quite a bit. All of this is new. I finished up this blue around here, went here and here, and that's pretty much what I've done. So I really, really love this stitch, but I am not the type, you're like never gonna see me do a whole border and then go to the middle stitching. You're just not. I can't stay interested enough. And I also find that it helps me know where I am if I like pull it over and then come down and then pull it over and then come down. I was just watching Carol Saltbox I think it's her second whip parade, and she has so many whips where she has the whole border done or like a lot of it done, and I just can't. I just get too disinterested in doing the same thing over and over and over. So anyway, that is my Dwelling Place, and here are my flosses. Again, if you for some reason want to stitch with the same flosses that I am using, and again, it's a whole mix here. I have some Cottage Garden threads, some silken colors, we have Dinky Dyes, Be Stitch Me silks, so many fun things in here, and it just makes it a little bit more interesting for me. So that is my Dwelling Place. Did I say this piece of fabric is something that I hand dyed like that? In this last couple weeks, I finished going through all of my whips and making sure that I had stitched on everything that hadn't got touched at all in 2023. And this was, I think, the last one. So this is Memories of the Past by Hands Across the Sea. And I hadn't pulled this out at all in 2023, sadly. And it is probably my most fun, colorful reproduction sampler. Mary Morgan's also very, very colorful, but that one's like a little bit too bright for my eye. This one is really, really fun. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count tea dyed fabric that my friend Heidi from Whips and Kits dyed for me, and it is divine. And I'm using the called for DMC with this project. So the last time you saw this, I had some of this alphabet in here, these 2 guys, and some of this, and then like 3 of those. So everything else, I widened that out just like with the last one, and all of this is new. This was really fun. The reason why I didn't pull this out again, even though the colors are so fun, I I was getting kind of like bored in here. I don't know how you can get bored of something that's so fun and colorful, but I kind of was. And like these letters having to change your floss so frequently. And then what was happening is lots of times when I start like this color, for example, I'll find somewhere else in the pattern that I can use it. So I did here, but then I would have had to jump way down here to use it. So that method wasn't really working for me because I didn't have any of this fun stuff in here yet. So I brought this line down, and then I brought this border down, and then I was able to start working on here. And then the big, huge pile of script that goes right here, I started that as well. So this is my progress. This is 1/2 on 40 count on my friend Heidi's whips and kits on her fabric that she gave me for, I think it was for my birthday. And I'm loving it. So there's going to be a few more that you're going to see that are things that I hadn't stitched on at all in 2023, but I think this was the last one. So I'm all caught up now for my Flosstube anniversary, which is March 25th. My next whip is Vintage Stitches from Jeannette Douglas. You might be looking at this and thinking, wow, you're almost done. Well, what she's doing with this, and I love it, in the pattern, she says do this and then do this and then do this, and she tells you exactly where to go and what to do. So it's like start here, then do this, then do this, then do this, and then it's like each thing is laid out. I really, really like that. But at this point, we're just building border on border on border, and so she's just stacking borders. So as you can see, here's a border, and then we did a border of these, and then we did this thick couching. This one is a couching border. I think that was my first time doing that. And then we had a border of black work around the edges. So we're just gonna keep going out and out, and I think it's gonna go to about here all the way around. So this is stitched, there's a lot of 1/1 in here. And so I'm stitching this on this piece of 28 count. I think it's 28 count Lugana. And that was a good choice for the 1/1. So parts of this is 2/2, like up here in these grapes and stuff. But a lot of this project is specialty stitches. So it was good, all except for, if you've been watching my videos since August, there is a lorikeet floss from Gloriana in here, and I am not a fan. It's a thick wool, like a 6-fiber wool, and you don't separate it when you use it. So it's here, and then it's in these big things on the side. And I'm having a lot of difficulty with it because I'm stitching it on this 28 count linen. It's just too tight to pull the wool floss through. So it's ending up being a pain in the butt, but I'm learning. I didn't know what lorikeet floss was when I picked up this pattern at Shepherd's Bush. Sorry, I bumped the camera. So, but I'm really loving it. Also, something to note is that a lot of these colors look different than on that pattern, which I put up, but I'll put it up again. That one is like a lot less browny gold in the greens, and they all got kind of, I don't know, like the colors just seem a lot more primary in that image, and in this one they're all kind of toned towards brownish a little bit. The purples too, so, but that's okay. I'm still really loving it. So this piece of fabric was one that I started tisket to tasket over, did I? Yes, I did. Okay. Over 1 on this, and I did not like doing that over 1 on here. So I'm going to need to pull that out before I finish this, but I'm going to finish it as a pillow just like the bee stitches that I did last year for my birthday. So I'm planning to have this done by August. I don't see that it will take all the way till August, but we shall see. So that's my, I stitch on this every 7th of the month. In the plans section of my videos, I always choose with you 2 projects from my whips at random for me to pull out, kind of helping me pull out things that I maybe wouldn't naturally gravitate to at that time, just because I like to mix it up. And so one of the things that I drew last video was Autumn Sampler from Mareijka. It's a kit, and this is a really beautiful kit, blues and purples and greens and golds and salmon. This time I added backstitch, and it is really helping me like this a lot more. So it's not as confetti heavy as like the Aurora Cabin from Dimensions that I recently finished, but it is a lot, and it just kind of looks like a very impressionist painting until you add in that backstitch. So I was really enjoying that this week. So all the backstitch you see, I added. And then I brought this over quite a bit more, I feel like. If I have a picture, I'll put it up. I don't remember if I took one. And then I brought this down a little bit more. So it's purposely leaving this space here. And what you're gonna do is after you've kind of stitched this frame, then you stitch the middle piece and you sew it onto your project. It's pretty cool. So this is just some probably 16 count Aida that came in the kit. And it's working out fine. But that means I am stitching this 2/1, which is not my preference, but there's some blended threads in here and stuff, so. But yeah, I'm liking it so much more. Backstitch just helps a lot. And I'm not somebody who minds backstitch, so I was like, why am I waiting? Why am I waiting? And then I looked at it and I thought, oh, well, I kind of need to finish those sections that have the backstitch, so let me go ahead and fill those out and then I could put that in. So I did that big leaf section. Next time I'm gonna work on filling this in so I can put in the backstitch on this leaf section. The other project that we drew for me to stitch on in the last video is Summertime from Primrose Cottage. And I feel like I got quite a bit done this time. I was stitching on this on some downtime. I'm stitching during my Los Angeles trip that I was talking about. And I got quite a bit done. So I'm using the Called For DMC with this project on all the pinks, but the yellows are a few silks from Be Stitch Me, and then the greens are a combination of some floss that I overdyed, some Be Stitch Me, and so the oranges and the pinks are Called For, and then the 2 browns are just stuff I pulled from Stash. So yeah, I just wanted to give myself a little bit more interest while stitching, and that's why I did that. Not because the colors weren't gorgeous, that, you know, the DMC colors are so pretty. So let's see, am I at the bottom? Yes, this is the bottom of the design. So really I just need to do a little bit more right there. And this is a project that's on my Mania from 2023. So I was thinking if I got this finished up, it could open up a spot. So I'm stitching this on 28, it's either 28 or 32 count Lugana. And I really like stitching on Lugana quite a bit, but I am doing 2/2. Yes, not 2/1, 2/2 on it. So, you know, that makes it like a little bit less enjoyable, but I do always enjoy stitching on Lugana. I think I have more whips than usual right now. I think it's because in this part of the month that we're in, I have more specific things I stitch on specific days. So on the 30th of the month, I stitch on this project for my daughter Joy. And this is Blackberry House from Plum Street Sampler. And this is just the project that she picked that she really liked for me to start. This is on a piece of Fabric and Flair 40 count called Dried Petal. And I'm stitching this with the Called For flosses. And I really like it. It said 2015 on the pattern, and that works because that's the year my daughter was born. So this is now all finished, this bottom, and on this 30th I was starting to build this house. So that's pretty much all I did, I think, on this time, was working in the house. And there's just 2 different colors for the house there, Yummy Purple, and then like I think that's Garden Gate. So not a massive amount done, but you know, little by little. Okay, 2 more, and these are both things that I found in my whip journal that I had not stitched on at all in 2023. So the first one is Sneek from Long Dog Samplers, and I went ahead and did the entire top band. So this is stitched using 1 silk floss from Mrs. Sadist Silks. The name of the floss is Love. So, and I am really loving how it looks. I have not found a part of this pattern that I'm not thoroughly enjoying. This part is kind of difficult. It is very intricate, and I feel like I have to count really well, but it looks very cool. So this, I believe, this is all new, and then this I had to bring over like half of this over. And then I don't remember if I had all that alphabet done. I think I had like this much more to do here. So this is a piece of 40 count that I overdyed. And it has kind of rougey, again, kind of like a rougey burgundy and some tans on there. And to kind of go along well with the floss. It's a highly variegated floss, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And I hadn't got it out at all in 2023. So I pulled it back out. It was kind of like my Fruits of Plenty. When I pulled that out too, I was like, oh man, yes, I love stitching on this. So 1/2, 40 count. This is Long Dog Sneek, Sneek. Okay, my last whip is Scary Sampler from Heartstring Samplery. I was just watching Cam the Stitcher. I believe it was you, Cam, that was sharing that you're going to kick this out of your whips. I don't know, I think you might regret it. It's such a cool, different sampler, but you know, we each have to make the best decision for ourselves. The reason I didn't stitch on this at all in 2023, I think, is the way that the placement of where I started it. Had I started in the bottom right-hand corner down here, that's where the house is, and I feel like I would have been a lot more compelled to stitch on it more. I really love this, and I'm so excited for when it's done. It's just, it's been a little bit tricky because until you get into all this wording, which as you can see, I don't think I did all of that this time, but I did a bunch of the words this time, I think. And then I put in the Death Star, I put in most of the pterodactyls this time, and then I finished up some more of these demigorgons that make up the border. I mean, it's just like, what other like kind of mainstream stitchy designer is putting demigorgons in her border? That's the thing. So then we have aliens in there, and it's so gnarly. It's such a cool design. Like, if I was a cross-stitch designer, I would probably want to do something like this. This is stitched on a piece of, I think it's 32 count. I don't even remember what brand it is. It's a very like burlappy kind of feel. It's a very hefty piece of linen. And then I over-dyed it, not really to look like murky, but I wanted to give myself a similar kind of look. And I don't think I wrote the recipe down for this one because I did this a very long time ago. But I think the reason why it comes off looking like the way it does is the combination of the fabric and the dyes that I use. So that's all right. I don't need to make it exactly for myself again. I'll just, you know, whatever. So anyway, I stitched a bunch on this, but I still find that when I go to pull this out, I'm like looking on the pattern and being like, what do I want to stitch on? I want to stitch on something interesting. And all of the big things I want to stitch on are down here, and I can't just jump down there, but I'm always a top left-hand starter. So that's my tricky thing about this one, but I hadn't stitched on this at all in 2023, so I got it out again. So I believe all the words are in there now, and I just think this is the coolest sampler ever. So yeah, really like that. Oh, and this is an example of me stitching one thread on 32 count, 1/2, and I just love it. I always want to use one, no matter what. So this next thing is a question for you. See if I can get some feedback. Now I may find another piece in my whip pile that I didn't stitch on in 2023 that I need to pull out, but I think this is the only one that I'm kind of undecided if I want to UFO it. This is Cold Sea Sampler from Modern Folk Embroidery, and it is on this absolutely stunning piece of fabric from Be Stitch Me. I think it's called Whimsical, and I love it. This would be the perfect piece to stitch those pieces that Hello from Liz Matthews is doing on blue. And I'm thinking about UFOing this because I went to get this out to put some more stitches in it to make sure I stitch on everything before my whip-iversary, my floss-iversary. And this is Weeks Mascara. It wasn't in the bag with it. This was just a PDF download, and so I just had it in a bag with just this, and there was no floss in there. And I was like, I looked in my journal, and it has Weeks Mascara. So I didn't even have the floss. I mean, I must have borrowed it to put in something else, and then I didn't have it on hand, so I didn't stitch on it, but I'm just looking at it being like, I really love it, but do I love it enough to keep going on it if I didn't pull it out at all this last year? And I started it for Black Sampler November 2022 and just never got it out again. And since I have Fruits of Plenty that I love so much, part of me is like, man, this is actually a pretty big start for not a huge, it's not like Fruits of Plenty. It's only gonna go to like here and then down. So what do you guys think? Should I just repurpose this fabric? Because it's a lot of fabric that I can use for other stuff. And it's such a cool piece of fabric. But what would I put on this besides like a monochromatic piece, you know? So that's what I'm trying to think about. Let me know what you think. Should I just hold on to it? My other thought is, I already have the Modern Folk Embroidery Fruits of Plenty. Do I really need to have two, especially with so many whips and not being able to touch everything? So there's all my thoughts. Let me know what you think. So I haven't done Flosstube shoutouts in a minute. I've been listening to so many audiobooks, but I did write down a few that I have really enjoyed in the past month and just had neglected to mention yet. So the first channel is Fibers and Floss Canada, and she's a friend of the Huga Stitcher. So I learned about her channel from Samantha's channel, and I just really like her. I enjoy the things that she stitches on. I enjoy the topics that she wants to discuss, even the things that are not stitchy. I really like this very calming yet passionate personality she has. It's really, really enjoyable, and so definitely go check her out. I will link all these channels down below. The next channel that I've been enjoying is Handmade by Sarah W. And again, I really like everything she's stitching on, and I really like her energy. Totally different energy than the last channel I was just referencing. Very accomplished stitcher, and I just find myself feeling very happy when I'm watching her videos. So go give her a watch. I'm pretty sure I'm a little late to the game on these channels, but I just want to mention them if you haven't tried them out yet. And then the third channel is Tara Sullivan, and I think she's been on Flosstube for a while, but this is her, I think she has like 1 or 2 videos on a channel by herself, and she has so much beautiful stitching, and again, just a really enjoyable person to hang out with for the hour or so that you're watching their video. So highly recommend. All 3 ladies have such beautiful stitching, beautiful personalities, and definitely will make you feel the love that you already have for stitching, but feel it even more. You won't be able to tell any difference, but I was just at choir for an hour, so I'm back. All right, let's get into haul. So I have just a little bit to share with you. I picked up some flosses. I needed some more Blackbird for my Halloween Quaker, and then I got a few more browns and greens because I always feel like I'm looking for dark, rich browns and greens. My Bestitch Me January Silks of the Month came in. We have like unicorn colors. Really, really pretty. So there's those. And then I can't remember whose video I was watching. Maybe it was So Tattered. I can't remember. Was it you, Katie? Somebody shared this, and I just thought it was so beautiful. Sorry for the glare. So I went and snagged it at Hollis Hands Create. And while I was there, I grabbed the Fabulous House number 2, the Castle. I haven't started this series yet, but I want to put it all on one. Although, if I do them all separate like the little animals, then I can fill like a big tray with them. Maybe I want to do that. I don't know. I guess I haven't decided. And then I grabbed these 2 from Jeannette Douglas because I just want everything she's ever done. So we have number 1, Autumn, and then Winter. So pretty. All right, so when it comes to plans, I choose 2 random projects with you. One is from my Mania. This is my 2022 and then 2023 Mania. And then this year we'll be adding one at the bottom, and then anything new that has a dot by it, that's those projects are finished. So I use a random generator. I like the app called Pretty Random, and then you can change the bottom number. So I have it going 1 to 23. and then we're gonna randomize. So number 8 is Joyfulness, which I've finished. So let's do it again. Number 11, Deck the Coupe, I've finished. Number 6, Friendship Garden, wow. Number 1, okay, that's the Light Upon the Lawn. So that's the second one in the Blackbird Loose Feather series. So I actually haven't stitched on that in a minute. So I'll put a picture up here so you can see which one I'm talking about. But so you'll definitely see me stitch on that. Sometime in the next 2 weeks I will pull that out. And then I use my other randomizer app, and it's called Tiny Decisions. And then I have all my whips in here, and I didn't have any new starts this time, so I don't need to add anything. And then it's blacked out where I've already done it. I have it to be non-repeating. And so it's chosen Golden Delicious from the Artsy Housewife. That's gonna be super fun. So I'll put that up here too so you can see that. So I'll definitely stitch on those two. And then the next day of the month that I have a definite stitch, the 13th I'll stitch on something Halloween-y. The 21st, I think I'll have a new start. I'll be having my daughter pick something for me to stitch on her birthday. Since I had my other daughter pick one, she wants to pick one too. So on the 21st now I'll have a stitch. And then my next video will be on the 25th. So those are 4 projects you'll see for sure. And then I don't know if I'm gonna like draw a bunch of things for my whips this time or try to work more on my mania pieces. We'll see. So those are my plans. And then I'm gonna chat a little bit about books that I've been reading. So if you are not interested in hearing about books, then I will see you back in 2 weeks for my next update. So the biggest one that I finished recently, The Priory of the Orange Tree, I'll put these up here. This is by Samantha Shannon. This is a kind of epic fantasy tale where females are mostly like the main leaders of society. There are plenty of also male main characters, but like instead of there being a main king to the kingdoms, there's a queen to the different kingdoms. So I don't really know what to compare this to, but it switches different viewpoints constantly. So if you already know that that's like kind of hard for you to keep up with, that was the trickiest thing about this book. In fact, I read the first 9 chapters twice because I got to 9 chapters and then I was like, I am totally lost. So I went back to the beginning and I started a little notepad and I took notes on the different main characters. I feel like there's probably like 8 people that you need to remember pretty well. And then there's like 4 main. But so there's a magic system, there are dragons, there's kings and queens, and there's some different religious beliefs that clash, and the book is kind of separated by the peoples of the East, West, and South. I don't think we really talked about the North at all. But I don't really want to say too much about it, but there's like a main dragon that's threatening the world. And you learn about all these different people. The narrator does an amazing job because she has to do so many different accents. And then as the book goes on, it all gets weaved together. But parts of the book, you kind of have to like suspend your belief a little bit with how things came together. So I really did like it. I think I give it like a 4 out of 5. I did finally update my Goodreads, so you can go there and see what I've read. I'll link that in the description bar below if you want to. Okay, so I also read, I don't remember if I talked about this last time. None of this is true. No, I didn't talk about it because I read it right after I came home from Disneyland. One of the girls there was like, oh, you have that in your TBR? So do I. So we started reading it. It's a story about a woman who runs a podcast, and she runs into another woman when she's out having her birthday celebration at a restaurant. They find out that they're birthday twins. They were born in the same hospital on the same exact day. And so then it like kind of sparks this acquaintanceship, and she decides to do a podcast involving this other woman, and then it all becomes very complicated and interesting. And it's a murder mystery. So I really did enjoy that. I would give that probably a 4.5 out of 5. And that one's a fast read. That one was like a third of the size probably of the Priory of the Orange Tree. Other than that, I've read a few more books in the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer Armentrout. I think the last time I talked about this, I had read the first one, which is called From Blood and Ash. And I was like, I don't know about this series. It was a recommendation based on my enjoyment of the Fourth Wing duo that's out so far. But it's not really like it at all. That's more like a military fantasy. And this one's more like female empowerment, I would say. If you want to read a book where you're going to feel like that's like the main thread, I feel like, running through this series. But this one's more about like vampires. I've never read a vampire series before. And then it moves into being about gods, but there's also werewolves and there's dragons. So anyway, it's another fantasy series. This one is steamy, so be aware of that going into it. But the first one was kind of like, because the main character is just kind of like a regular person, but then once she starts, her story arc is actually pretty good, even though in the first one I was kind of like iffy about it. But she goes from like being a person who's like really been pushed down in their life to like not being able to do anything, to finding her own strength. That's why I feel like the series is about that. And then she has a huge character arc. That author is just kind of like, okay, now I'm gonna like level her up, and then I'm gonna majorly level her up, and then right away I'm gonna level her up again. So that part is kind of like, I feel like maybe the reader isn't really earning all of those level ups, but it's been kind of fun. But then I saw this post on Facebook that said before you read the fourth book in that series, you should read the first book in the, I think it's called Flesh and Fire series. So I read the first book in that one, called A Shadow in the Ember, which is like a prequel and tells the story of some people that are kind of involved in the series. And in that series, you're like in full like gods and primals realms. So, which is also something that I've never read before. Never really read about vampires and werewolves, except for Twilight, which I really didn't like that much because I don't love reading about teenagers. And then now we're talking about primals and gods. It's kind of like, all these things are a little bit hard to imagine, but I mean, it's interesting. So yeah, I think that's everything I've read in the last 2 weeks. And the next thing on my TBR is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, also recommended to me from one of the girls in our road trip. If you've read that one, let me know. That's the next one I'm going to read, if you want to read it with me. It's only an 8-hour, 33-minute book, so I'll probably get that done in a day and a tiny bit, because I just put in my audio book while I'm working. So that's pretty much it as far as reading. Yeah, that's my whole update. So I really appreciate you joining me today. I hope that you had some fun hanging out with me. You got a little stitchy time in while we were chatting. I hope you have a great week and you get to do all the stitching that you want to do. Yeah, I think that's it. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Galentine's Day. I will see you back in 2 weeks. Take care until then.